My name's David Kilkelly, and I run a video production company and marketing company called BlinkBack. We're fairly new to Devon. We only moved here in August of last year. Just a little bit, before I start, just a little bit about myself. I worked at the University of Sussex for about 10 or 15 years, delivering documentary media production, basically kind of telling stories and helping other people to tell stories, and watching people struggling making stories as well, and hopefully kind of helping them. And then we kind of, I got a little bit tired of that. I think I reached the end of my time there. Universities can be quite backward-looking places. They kind of tend to rely on what's good in the past, and I kind of like looking forwards into the future. And actually, when it comes to things like media and marketing and modern sort of internet techniques and productions and strategies and things like that, a lot of it is what's happening now and next year and not what happened 5 or 10 years ago. So it kind of suited me to go and do my own thing and to kind of get involved with that. At the same time, video was starting to take off. In terms of businesses and what businesses can do with video, it was becoming, and still is becoming, quite a powerful and sort of popular medium. Mostly that's because the internet has got fast enough to deal with it, so we don't all have to sit there waiting for it to download for ages. And also the production standards, or the quality, the cost of production has come down a lot. You can buy some very nice equipment these days for a couple of £1,000 and make something that looks pretty good. So it's an exciting time for video. What I'd like to do today is talk through some strategy though. We produce video, but very early on in the business I realised that what was more valuable for businesses was more the marketing side of it. It was how the video then made you some money. It was how it actually got in front of the right eyes and served a purpose. So what I'd like to do today is just kind of maybe reposition how you think about video. What most people see when they think of video is kind of promotional video. So they think of using a video to basically like an advert to kind of just glorify what they're doing or to tell everyone what they're doing. That's fine, you can do that. There's plenty of good reasons why you'd want to do that. But there's also a number of other ways you can use video to harness an audience, to build trust online, and to kind of basically develop your authority online as well. So I'm going to talk through that a little bit today. And I'm going to do it by comparing it to a model that you may be familiar with, and that's the networking model. So hopefully, I mean, you've all been here today, you've probably been around talking to people, maybe some of you go to networking meetings. So I'm going to compare those two systems just to kind of show you how they work and how you can use video to warm up an online audience, how to reach an online audience, and how to do the same thing that you do in person, but with video online. And that allows you to reach a much wider audience, obviously, because you're not just talking to the people who are in the room with you, you've got a potentially limitless audience because you're online and you're using that kind of space. Let me find my clicker. Okay, so I'm going to start with the website. And the website really is your kind of most important key or your sort of gateway to your business. I'm not a web designer or a web company, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. But basically, a website is 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a website was a brochure. It was basically, you put all your information up there about your business and people come and read it, and then they kind of go, oh, that's very nice, and then they leave your website and they probably never come back to it because they've got no reason to come back to it. But now people look at websites in a very different way, and we kind of look at websites as a number of different things. So first of all, a website needs to be a place that's worth revisiting. Okay? So in order to bring people back onto your website, in order to make them familiar with who you are and get to know them, you need to give them a reason to come back onto your website. Now, mostly people will understand a blog to be that reason. You've probably all maybe tried your hands at blogging, or you understand what a blog is there for. And that's true, but what a lot of people don't do is they don't kind of keep up with their blogs. They write a long blog, they sort of kind of take ages to do it, the phone doesn't ring, they put it out on Facebook, a couple of people read it, and that's it. And that's kind of, and they think, well, why am I spending all my time doing that? So what I'm going to do today is hopefully show you how you energize that a little bit and actually turn it into something real. It also needs to be a communication hub. So social media is here now. There's a lot of different strands of communication and ways of communicating with clients, customers, and people. And your website really needs to be a hub to manage that as well. So there's no good just building your business on Facebook, for example, because if Facebook changed the rules tomorrow, your business can go. So your thousands of people that you have got on Facebook, or hundreds or whatever it is, if they change the rules, that can be gone tomorrow. So you need to build on solid, firm ground, and that's your website. You own that, you're in control of it, and you can decide what happens on it. And then hopefully if you tick those first two boxes, then your website becomes a lead generating machine. It becomes a way of actually harnessing an audience, building an audience, and then turning them into clients later on down the line. Okay, so this is the traditional sort of networking model, and you'll notice that my blocks go from cold through to warm as you get to know somebody. And hopefully you'll be familiar with this. It's fairly straightforward, but I'll just talk through it really quickly so that you understand how I've done it. You go to a networking meeting, you go to an event like this, you meet somebody, and you kind of get to know them. You sort of say hello, how are you doing? You find out a little bit about them. You probably go back to another networking meeting next week or next month, and you might do that several times. I've put in 2 here, but this could be 6 or 8 or 10 or 15. And over that time, you get to know that person, because people do business with people, don't they? They don't do business with sort of random faces. And then after that, after you've got to know someone a little bit, you might sort of send them an email or say, look, come and have a look at my website. They find out a bit more. That's the kind of next stage. From there, you might give them a follow-up call, and you're developing the relationship at this point. You're kind of moving it towards something a bit more established. After that, you might have a meeting, and then if both parties are kind of in the same place, then you move through to a sale or something at the end of that. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. Does everyone kind of get that? Okay, great. That's a one-to-one model. That means you're dealing with one person at a time. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of that? Well, the disadvantages is quite time-consuming. You've got to go to all of those meetings. You've got to meet those people. You've got to develop those relationships. And you're limited to the people in that space at that time. So within a networking meeting, you're limited to the 10 or 15 or 20 people that are there. The advantages are that you get to build personal relationships, and you get an opportunity for referrals through the conversations and the things that you're having as well. So I'm not saying that the networking model isn't a great model. It serves its purpose, and I do a lot of networking, and it's good. But this is a one-to-one model where you meet people in person. So how do you do that online where you don't meet people in person? Okay, so this is a similar but slightly different kind of process, and the key starting point is content here. And this is what I was talking about just a minute ago with the blog. We use video for that, and I'll talk about why we use video in a little bit. But the most important thing is that you're producing something here at the front end that people actually want. So it's not an advert, because nobody clicks on an advert out of choice. No one really wants to watch adverts so much. It's something useful. So if you were a tradesman, for example, if you were a plumber, that might be how to stop drains blocking this year. Or if you were in the legal profession, you might do a little piece on how to avoid inheritance tax or how to reduce your inheritance tax. Something that people actually want and are going to click on, are going to read, and hopefully as well share. And then what we're going to do is we're going to advertise this. Okay, this is a slightly kind of newer way of thinking, and what most people do when they advertise is they just put an advert up on Facebook or wherever they're advertising, buy this thing, you click on it, you buy it or you don't buy it, but it's a one-step process. This is a much more subtle and slightly longer process that actually I think develops an audience and warms people up in a slightly nicer way. So we're going to use targeted Facebook advertising, like, or it doesn't have to be Facebook, it can be YouTube or any of the other social networks that run targeted advertising. And we're going to put that bit of content in front of specific people who we think are going to be interested in it. So we can target people aged between 30 and 40 who earn more than £60,000 and live in Torbay. Or we can target people who call themselves farmers who are over 50 and are male. You can target in very, very specific ways these days. So we're going to position that content where we think it's going to be useful, and then when someone comes onto our website to read that bit of content or to watch the video, we place a tracking cookie or a little bit of a little pixel, we call it, on the website, which captures their digital footprint. And from there, you can basically retarget them. And what retargeting means is if you ever kind of go shopping on Amazon these days and you go and look at a pair of welly boots, but you decide not to buy them, and then you go away from Amazon, and then the welly boots just follow you around the internet, don't they? Everywhere you go, they're just kind of like, oh, did you want to buy these welly boots? Did you want to? That's the same technology, but we're using it in a slightly different way here. So basically, you then got the opportunity to send them another useful article, another useful video. And you can repeat that process over and over again. So that's very similar to this first stage here, where you can repeat that over and over again, as many videos that you have or useful things, and you're basically introducing yourself to the audience, you're introducing your ideas, your philosophy, and how you sort of run your business. From there, you can, we can introduce more related content. From there, you can move them onto slightly firmer ground. So after they've seen a couple of articles or videos, they're much more likely to like your Facebook page, give you their email address, do something like that so that you're building a slightly firmer relationship with them. And from there, you can use email marketing just to kind of develop that a little bit more, or you can do that through social media, or both if possible. And then from there, you can move to an offer online, and then hopefully to a sale. So you're using video to warm people up and to introduce people to who you are. And the ideal sort of content really that you're looking for is to answer the questions that your potential customers and clients are asking. Because if you're answering those questions, they're going to see you as a rich source of information. They're going to learn to trust you. You can build authority. And then this is a one-to-many model. So obviously, you don't have to deal individually with one person at a time when you're doing this. You can reach a much wider market just by setting this system up at the beginning and reach lots of people. Okay, so incidentally, this is what mostly happens. Mostly people write the blog article, I think I mentioned this at the beginning. They put it on their social media feed, and then they just kind of wonder why nothing's happened. Mostly that's because you're relying on organic traffic. And what that means is that, like, if you've got 1,000 people on your Facebook page, if you post on Facebook, there's only a small percentage of people that are going to see that. In fact, organic reach for Facebook is down, 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 down. They're basically turning Facebook into a paid platform now. It's not really the free resource that it used to be, specifically for businesses. So you might reach, out of 1,000 people on your Facebook page, you might reach 100, probably 50. And that's not a huge amount of traffic. It's the same thing with Twitter. If you pop a link up on Twitter, it just disappears down the feed straight away. If you pay for traffic, and it's not actually that expensive with online traffic, you can start at £5 or £10 a day, and then you can build it up when you know it works. If you pay for traffic, it's like turning on a tap. You're basically turning on a traffic tap. You're not waiting in the hope that somebody might walk past it. You're actively putting it in front of people and getting some results for that. So what are the advantages for this? Well, firstly, you're finding an online community and you're finding a bunch of prospects. And this is a long-term sort of advantage to you. So you're building a permanent audience, basically. Once you've got those people on your email list, on your social network feeds, they tend to stay there. And you can develop a relationship over time. So you can keep producing content and keep sending them things. And they basically will learn to trust you over time. And particularly with video, you become sort of like almost a minor celebrity. You kind of get that slightly sort of celebrity status because you're appearing in front of them on a screen, or your business is appearing on a screen. It kind of endorses that and makes it feel kind of like you're an authority. So if they don't buy off you this week, they might buy off you next week or next month or the month after, but you've got them on a list. It's not just, they're not just kind of a random flyby. You're establishing yourself as an authority, and also, and I really like this one, you're growing a library of information. So how many people in their business spend a lot of time sending out the same emails to people, explaining the same thing that they explained last week or a week before? If you've got a video or a document that explains that, it actually cuts man hours and the time that you've invested in your business quite a lot. So it's like an FAQ. It's like a breathing, living sort of FAQ. So, if someone's saying, like, how do I do this? Well, here's the video. Just watch the video. How do I do this? Well, watch the video. And that library grows over time, so you've got an answer for almost anything. And that saves you a huge amount of time in terms of contacting and emailing and repeating those messages. The disadvantages are that it's time consuming to set up and to generate the content. Hopefully that's where a company like ours can help. And also it's a long-term strategy. There's no kind of quick wins with this. But I think you'll find that anyone who's involved in marketing says that. You can't get overnight success. The people who get overnight success tend to be doing quite spammy, sort of flamboyant, sort of overdressed stuff. To get real results does take a while. It takes a few months. Okay, so I said I'd talk about why we use video, mainly because I'm kind of I'm very comfortable with video and I know how it works, but also because it's actually more, well, I think it's much more dynamic than blogs and writing. It doesn't work for every industry, but for the most part it does. Firstly, it's very digestible. It's easy to watch. So, you know, we all like watching videos. They're kind of easy. We're familiar with television. We're familiar with that media. It's a rich authority media. And what I mean by rich is that if you've got a video, you can actually strip it apart into lots of different components. So we can transcribe it into text if you want. We can rip the audio out and we can have it as a podcast or an audio file somewhere. And once you've got the, if you're using graphics and sort of visuals, you can take those out and you can make infographics and things out of them. So once you've reduced the video, you can actually redistribute it into multiple formats across multiple networks. So you're actually hitting different networks. So you're hitting a blog network, you're hitting a video network, you're hitting text-based networks and audio-based networks. And that just extends your reach across the web. Social media is gearing towards it. All of the social media channels, even ones like Instagram, which historically is a stills video, photograph social network, they've built in video capabilities now. Anyone use Snapchat? The two youngest people in the audience do. Well, and a third. Okay, so that's really, really popular for 16 to 24-year-olds. So if you're using, if you've got a market that sits in that area, it's definitely worth looking at that. Twitter have got video capabilities. Facebook are making a huge battle against YouTube at the minute. There's a big war going on between those two networks for video dominance, and of course YouTube as well. So they're all piling in because they see it as basically the future of the web. Now I had a couple of slides which I was going to bring me with today, which aren't in this presentation, full of statistics, but I think it's something like 75% of all web traffic is going to be video based in about 2 years' time. So it's becoming a very visual medium. It's a lot of the traffic on the online is becoming video based. And then finally, it's got trackable analytics. And what I mean by that is that the tools that we can use in the background with video allow us to see how much of it's been watched, which bits were watched over and over again, where people stopped watching and where they maybe started again. So you can tell if you hit a boring bit in your video, you can tell because you can see a shelf where it just kind of drops off. And what that allows you to do is to kind of go back and look at your videos and say, well, okay, this one wasn't as good, this one was better, and it allows you to then develop over time and sort of change what you're doing and adapt to what your audience is feeding back through digital terms and through analytical terms. You can't do that with a blog. If you put a blog or a bit of text up on a screen, you cannot tell where someone has stopped reading it. They're going to read, you know, you can tell that they visited the page, but you can't tell what they did or how they engaged with the content on that page. But you can do that with video. So what can we do? Well, we can help you shape your content. So what that means is, it's going back to what I was saying at the beginning about telling stories. So sometimes it's quite difficult when you're within your business to see what's interesting and what's not interesting to an audience, what's relevant, what's not relevant. And sometimes a third party coming in from outside can really help develop that and give you a slightly alternative sort of perspective on your business. And we can do that and we can help kind of tell the story of your business. We can produce the video content, so we can produce either quite high profile stuff, which has got lots of spinning graphics and amazing kind of flashy bits to impress people, or we can do it very simply. And if you're on a budget, I actually don't think that the production standard of your video needs to be massively high. It doesn't need to have bells and whistles. What it needs to have is a very interesting story and something that people are going to engage with. So even if it's just you sat talking to camera about something that is engaging to your audience, I think that's enough. And the advantage of that is that you can group together lots of those videos and shoot them in one day. So we can bring the unit cost on things like that down quite a lot. You can also shoot it yourself. It's not difficult to, if you want to give it a try to learn how to use video these days. Something like this, you can actually produce very high quality video with an iPhone or a mobile phone, most Android phones these days. If you're going to do that, just get yourself a decent microphone. That's the only thing that you need to really worry about, is just to get a microphone to make it sound good. And we can build and implement your strategy. So that's kind of similar to what I was just talking about, the strategy that we had where we were doing Facebook and then retargeting. So you can build a strategy. It's a little network of tricks and sort of things that we do online that feed your content from one place to another and then back and capture the audience as you go. We call it a funnel. And we can track and report back as well. So you can see those statistics and you can see where people have viewed things and what they're actually doing and how that's responding for you as well.